Gambia government injects 50 tractors to modernize agriculture. Conakry and Banjul signed 6 bilateral agreements. Child Protection Alliance Youth Coordinator longs for stricter enforcement of child labor laws. This and more coming on Gambia 24. Hello and good evening. This is Gambia 24 News with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. Now, the Gambia government handed over 50 tractors and other implements to unprivileged farmers in which aims to modernize agriculture to promote the commercial ventures. The Minister of Agriculture pointed out that the tractors will increase crop production and the value chain food security among rural youth and women farmers. Fatmata Kasim has the rest of that in this report.
Agriculture in the Gambia is challenged by poor infrastructure, depletion of soil fertility, and soaring price of production input, among others. However, Agriculture Minister Ami Fabre has signaled change in the status quo with what she called creation of space for private sector participation in agriculture.
It will also create the space of private sector participation in the sector as created employment opportunities for youth enterprises. Therefore, Your Excellency, be rest assured that any Japanese yen or United States dollars or Gambian dollars invested to procure these items we are launching today will not only reach the targeted beneficiaries, but will reflect into improving their crop production and productivity and enhance their livelihood. Your Excellency, it is not enough to ensure that every single cent invested to procure these tractors and their accessories is enough, but to ensure that a sustainability plan coupled with a sound business model where the private sector takes a center stage is put in place thereafter.
The ambassador of Japan in the Gambia, Arai Tatsuo, described the deployment of these agricultural equipment as a means to empower farmers. He said the initiative will provide access to mechanized services within the framework and the use of counterpart forms of assistance.
This cooperation consists of providing tractors and accessories, spare parts, tools and equipment, mobile maintenance vehicles, amounting at $170 million. This grant expresses the Japanese government's commitment to support the Gambian government efforts to boost modernization of agricultural sector. In that respect, these equipments will contribute to the increase in the farmers' productivity and in the crop production, as well as in income and employment.
Agriculture is known as the backbone of the Gambian economy, employing about 70% of the total workforce and contributing 33% of the GDP on average. It produces about 50% of the national food supplies, with only about 60% of the country's total arable land currently being utilized. The sector generates approximately 40% foreign exchange earnings and provides for 2/3 of the total household. For iAfrican News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
The Gambia government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has inaugurated the 50 tractors meant to support farmers towards a productive season. The heavy machinery is expected to create youth employment to boost crop production and productivity in the country. President Adam Barrow, who presided over the handing over ceremony on Monday, says the project will facilitate the sale of quality rice at a subsidized price. Amindo has the rest of that.
Agriculture, as a major driver of growth for many countries across the world, remains as the sustainer of the food bank for consumers and revenue stream for producers. In the Gambia, the sector accounts for about 32% of the gross domestic product, providing employment and income for almost 80% of the population. Performance has, however, declined significantly due to lack of proper policies and management, coupled with inadequate farming equipment and lack of credit facilities for farmers. The collaboration with the government of Japan for the procurement of these tractors is considered significant in the revival process of the agricultural industry. President Barrow expressed commitment in the implementation of plans to produce enough rice to be sold at a subsidized price in the Gambia.
Ladies and gentlemen, KR was pioneered as a rural development strategy targeting developing countries. It focuses on commercializing agriculture to effectively enhance production and productivity, specifically targeting underprivileged farmers. With the KR2, it is implemented in the form of selling quality Japanese rice at a subsidized price for underprivileged Gambian farmers. The proceeds are deposited in a special account at the Central Bank of the Gambia and invested in relevant short or medium-term projects to boost the production and productivity levels of crops and livestock value chains. More importantly, these projects seek to improve food security, uplift income status, and reduce hardship for rural women farmers.
The President explained some of the operational and management context of these machines as a means to employ more youth.
Wisely, it is premised on lessons learned from previous agricultural projects in which equipment and materials procured are distributed to farmer groups, served for a shorter while than expected. In most cases, this was due to inappropriate use and mismanagement. This time around, a public-private partnership model has been developed, through which 20 tractors will be allocated to and managed by a competent private individual. The remaining 30 will be operated and managed initially using the plowing team model. In this model, youth will be employed and trained to operate the tractors and provide services such as plowing, sowing, and harvesting to the farming communities across the country.
The KR2 state-of-the-art tractors is a machine with sophisticated systems, including the GPS navigation systems. The bilateral relationship between Japan and the Gambia is considered strong and beneficial to the people of both countries. Along with the inauguration of these farming tools, the Gambia government announced the delivery of more than 3,000 metric tons of rice to be sold for local consumption. Reporting for iAfrica News, Amin Dao.
The governments of the Gambia and Guinea-Conakry have signed 6 bilateral agreements during President Barrow's visit to Conakry. The agreements signed include the establishment of a joint commission between the two governments. This was further ruled on the agreement on political and diplomatic consultations. Details of that in this report. The two leadership penned several agreements such as the education and scientific research between the Ministry of Higher Education of the Republic of Guinea and the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology of the Gambia. The Gambia's Foreign Affairs Minister with his Guinea counterpart signed an agreement on diplomatic and political consultations between the two ministries. The two West Africans agreed on tourism cooperation, trade, fisheries and a joint commission. Barrow's visit to Conakry featured a tete-a-tete with President Alpha Condé and bilateral meetings between officials of the two countries. President Adama Barrow was conferred the highest national order of Guinea from President Alpha Condé during the 3-day engagements in Guinea. The prestigious award was conferred on the Gambian leader for his contribution to the consolidation of friendship and cooperation between the two countries. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. That bilateral agreement signed by the governments of the Gambia and Guinea-Conakry will take us to a quick break, and we'll be back with the rest of the news on Gambia 24. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and this is still Gambia 24 News. The Youth Coordinator and Advocacy Focal Person of Child Protection Alliance says laws against child labor in the Gambia are not enforced. Lamin Seydi made this remark during an interview with our reporter Ndai Cisse ahead of the 2021 World Child Labor Day. NC files in this report.
World Child Labor Day is observed annually on the 12th June to pay attention on child labor and means to eradicate the practice. This is significant as it helps in raising awareness about the harmful mental and physical problems faced by children across the world. As the commemoration draws nearer, the Youth Coordinator and Advocacy Focal Person of Child Protection Alliance, Lamin K. Seydi, is of the view that laws against child labor in the Gambia are not enforced. He called on authorities to refocus attention in protecting the rights and welfare of children in the country.
So we have very good laws, but implementation, enforcement of laws are the issue. But they have set out clear punishments for people who, even employ children. There are clear-cut provisions in our laws, but they are not enforced. They are not monitored. They are not. The institutional frameworks are not there to have those laws in place.
In different contexts, children could be seen as breadwinners for many families who rely on their labor due to high levels of poverty. Child Protection Alliance officials urge parents to by all means prevent their children from engaging in hard labor no matter the poverty status.
For us, we believe first, parents have to understand the consequences of their actions, of taking children responsible for their feeding, for their all those issues that the family may need. Once children are responsible of this, it becomes difficult because they would have to go and get it out. How they get it out becomes the issue now. And that's why you have children venture into all these issues.
Children could be also found carrying out different forms of child labor in the Gambia, a situation Mr. Seydi has labeled as dangerous enough to paralyze career dreams of the young ones.
Of course, child labor comes in different categories. For example, you have children who may be engaged into petty trading. You may have children who may be doing domestic work and so forth. But having worst forms of child labor would be children working in deep seas, child prostitution, and so forth. This constitute worst forms of child labor, and we have all this in the Gambia, really.
This year's World Child Labor Day focuses on actions for 2021 International Year for the elimination of child labor. According to reports, 182 on the worst forms of child labor is known to have been taking place when the COVID-19 crisis was reversing progress made in tackling the problem. It is estimated that there are 152 million victims of child labor worldwide. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Ndai Cisse.
In commemoration of World Environment Day on Sunday, the United Nations announced the launch of Decade on Restoration Measures. The initiative aims to prevent, halt and reverse the degradation of ecosystem on every continent and in every ocean to make the planet a safe place for living. More in this report by Khadija Tuseka.
For decades in history, human activities have been notorious in the exploitation and destruction of the ecosystem. Countries across the world have suffered a great deal due to the actions of mankind, with the Gambia not out of the circle of victims. The coastal zone of the Gambia consists of 70 kilometers open ocean and 200 kilometers sheltered coast. Of this space, only 20 kilometers of the open coastal line, including Banjul, Bakau and Fajara, is significantly developed. Despite its development, the coastal strip has been subjected to considerable pressure from human activities for many decades, thereby altering so much of the natural habitats. Aside from the coastal areas, land clearing for agricultural development and timber harvesting has had considerable impact. According to the UN boss, this initiative will safeguard the planet's resources and create millions of new jobs by 2030, generate returns of over $7 trillion every year. The Gambia's marine environment has international importance for nature conservation. As a result, a strict protection and appropriate management of the site is required. Khadija Tuseka, iAfrica News.
The launch of a decade restoration measures on the degradation of ecosystems of continents by the United Nations bring us to the end of Gambia 24 News. I am Mariama Cham. Thanks for your company and do have a good night.
Following the announcement by the Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, of the dates for the general voter registration scheduled from the 29th of May to 11th July 2021, the National Council for Civic